What if I told you there is an actual, literal time machine built right into the English language?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a grammatical loophole that lets you bend reality, construct alternate universes, and, literally step inside other people's minds.
That sounds intense.
It does, right? Well, today on the Deep Dive, we are unpacking exactly that. Welcome in, everyone, to Language Enthusiasm.
Thanks for having me. And it sounds like a premise for a science fiction movie when you frame it that way, but it is entirely real. We are talking about a really incredible linguistic tool called the Unreal Conditional.
Yes, the Unreal Conditional.
Right. And for those of you who might be tuning in to master your English, especially, if you're coming from languages like Spanish or Portuguese, where verb moods do a ton of heavy lifting, you might actually know this as the second conditional.
Exactly. And I'm so thrilled we are doing this deep dive today because you, listening to us right now, you use this concept constantly.
Oh, all the time.
Probably without even realizing the mechanics of it. You use it to dream about what you'd do if you won the lottery. You use it to complain about your boss. Or you use it to give advice to your best friend when they are making a terrible life choice.
Which happens a lot.
Yeah, it really does. But today, we are going to actually look under the hood. Understanding how this reality bender works won't just improve your grammar. It is going to unlock a whole new level of empathy and imagination in your everyday communication.
Absolutely. And to understand how we bend reality with words, we really first have to look at the architectural formula that makes it possible. Because it isn't just a random collection of words, it's a very specific two-part structure.
Okay, let's unpack this. What exactly is this formula?
Well, the Unreal Conditional is used specifically for imagining situations that are not real right now. It fundamentally asks the question, what would happen if life were different today or tomorrow?
Right.
So the structure has two halves. The first part is the condition, which uses the word if, plus a verb in the past, simple tense. Then, the second part of the sentence, which is the result, uses the word would, followed by the base form of a verb.
So if plus past simple, followed by would plus the base verb. Let's ground this with a few classic examples so you can hear the rhythm of it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So if I had more money, I would buy a house. Or if she lived closer, she would visit more often. Or even if they knew the answer, they would tell us.
Precisely. You are setting up the imaginary condition first, if I had more money, and then you are stating the imaginary result, I would buy a house.
Wait, hold on. I have to push back on this formula, though.
Okay, go for it.
Because if you look closely at those examples, right, if I had more money, if she lived closer, if they knew the answer, had, lived, knew, these are undeniably past tense verbs.
They are.
Why on earth are we using the past tense if we are explicitly not talking about the past? I mean, if I say, if I had $1 million, I would buy a house, I am dreaming about a house I want to buy tomorrow, not back in 1999.
That's a really fair point.
Using a past tense verb to talk about a future desire feels, I don't know, it's like using a map of the 1800s to navigate a futuristic city.
Right.
Just seems completely counterintuitive.
What's fascinating here is the psychology behind the grammar. You're right to point out the friction there, but the past tense in this formula doesn't actually signal a distance in time.
It doesn't.
No,
Yeah.
which is what our brains naturally assume. Instead, it signals a distance from reality.
Oh, wow. A distance from reality.
Yes, exactly. Think about it geographically. When you say, if I had more money, you are using the past tense to push the idea away from your present reality.
Okay, because my present reality is that I'm broke.
Right. Your present reality is you do not have the money. So to clearly communicate to the person you are talking to that you are stepping into a fantasy, you shift the verb back a step.
I see.
You are creating a psychological buffer zone between the real present and the unreal present. That's why it is called an unreal conditional. You are literally stepping outside of the current timeline.
That completely changes how you look at it. Right. It's not a timeline, it's a reality line.
Yeah.
And because we are using the past tense to distance ourselves from reality, this structure actually bends the normal rules of past tense verbs, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It throws a massive wrench into the gears of basic conjugation, especially with the verb to be.
Right. We all know how the past tense of the verb to be works in normal factual sentences like, I was at the store.
Exactly.
But this reality-bending structure completely throws that out the window. In the Unreal Conditional, the strictest rule says we don't say, if I was you, we say, if I were you.
And this applies to the other pronouns as well. It's not if he was taller, it's if he were taller.
Oh, right.
Not if she was here, but if she were here, or if it were possible.
It's so strange to hear it isolated like that,
Mm.
if it were possible. It feels like were is acting like this special grammatical flag waving in the air to warn the listener, like, hey, heads up, this is purely hypothetical. Do not take this as a fact.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it. And there's a deep historical reason for that flag. This specific use of were is actually a remnant of traditional subjunctive forms in the English language.
Ah, the dreaded subjunctive mood. I know Spanish and Portuguese speakers know all about that.
They absolutely do. It sounds intimidating in English, but the subjunctive mood was historically used exclusively to explore hypothetical situations, wishes, or commands, things that haven't actually happened.
Right.
Over the centuries, English has largely lost its distinct subjunctive verbs. They just kind of faded away. But this little were has survived and held on tight in the second conditional as a way to stubbornly declare we are in the realm of the imaginary right now.
Now, to be entirely fair to you listening, you will absolutely hear native speakers say, if I was you, in casual, everyday conversation.
Oh, for sure.
You'll hear it at a coffee shop. You'll hear it in movies.
You absolutely will. Language is always evolving, and in informal settings, if I was you, is perfectly understood and widely accepted. However, if I were you remains the safest and most universally correct choice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you are writing a professional email, giving a presentation at work, or taking an English proficiency exam, you really want to use that were flag. It shows a mastery of the language's nuances.
So what does this all mean for our daily lives? Well, understanding this were rule directly sets up arguably the most practical, everyday application of this entire grammatical structure.
It is.
It is the ultimate tool for stepping into someone else's shoes to navigate tricky social situations.
Ah, yes. We're talking about giving advice.
Yes, if I were you is the absolute gold standard for giving advice in English. Think about phrases like, if I were you, I'd take a vacation, or if I were you, I'd apologize. If I were you, I wouldn't wait.
Notice the underlying tone of those sentences compared to the alternatives.
Yeah. Exactly. Let's do a quick role play for everyone listening. Imagine your friend just made a huge mistake at work, and they are being super stubborn about it. If you look at them and just say, you should apologize, what happens?
They immediately get defensive.
Right. You should apologize. Feels like a command. It's harsh. But the conditional structure, if I were you, I'd apologize, is remarkably softer. It is a way of sharing a helpful opinion rather than barking an order at someone.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of human psychology, this structure is a brilliant mechanism for preserving social harmony.
How so?
Well, when you tell someone you should do this, you are aiming the word you directly at them, which can actually trigger a literal threat response in the brain. They feel judged from the outside.
Wow, just from the word you.
Yeah. But think about what you are neurologically doing when you say, if I were you. You are demanding action from them. You are offering a polite alternative reality where you are in their position. You change the subject of the sentence from you to I.
It's like grammatical empathy. Precisely. By framing it as an imaginary scenario happening to you, you remove the pressure from them. You make the listener far more receptive to the advice because you've metaphorically joined them in their predicament.
Yeah, you're on their side.
Right. You're saying, in this safe hypothetical space, here's the action I would take. It's incredibly disarming.
In this safe hypothetical space. I absolutely love that. And, you know, stepping into someone else's shoes to give advice is just one way to imagine a different reality. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
This exact same grammatical formula gives us the power to completely reconstruct the world around us, from our mundane daily routines all the way up to the laws of nature.
It really is the sandbox of the human mind. Let's look at a practical case study to see how quickly we can build a world. Let's take a guy named Jason.
Okay, let's establish Jason's reality. Jason works in a cubicle. He's an employee. He clocks in at 9 a.m., clocks out at 5:00 p.m. He does not own a business.
Right, that's the reality.
But we can use the Unreal Conditional to instantly build an entirely different parallel life for him. We could say, if Jason owned a business, he wouldn't have much free time. If he had his own company, he would work weekends. If he were his own boss, he'd make all the decisions. If he earned more money, he'd probably travel more.
See, in just 4 simple sentences, we've constructed an entire alternate universe for Jason. We know his news schedule, his stress levels, his level of authority, and his leisure activities, all based on a reality that doesn't actually exist.
And we do this for ourselves all the time with everyday things. Think about your own life listening to this. We constantly say things like, If I lived near the beach, I'd go swimming every day.
Oh, I wish.
Right? Or if I spoke 5 languages, I'd travel around the world. If I had a private chef, I'd never cook. And my personal favorite, because it is so painfully true for me, if my phone battery lasted a week, I'd be amazed.
Those are fantastic because they highlight our core desires. The Unreal Conditional is how we safely articulate what we want by contrasting it with what we currently lack.
But it's not just for serious desires or career goals,
Right.
right? It is the absolute foundation of human humor and what-if scenarios. We can use this structure to get completely absurd.
Oh, definitely. You can break the laws of physics or biology just by plugging new words into the formula.
For instance, if cats could talk, they'd probably complain about humans.
Oh, absolutely. If my cat could talk, she wouldn't even ask for food. She'd just sit on the couch and critique my posture while I'm trying to work.
100% accurate. They would be so mean.
Really?
Or how about this one? If dinosaurs still existed, I wouldn't go hiking.
Which is just a solid survival strategy. If velociraptors were in the woods, I'd stay on the couch.
Right, safety first. And then there's the most terrifying scenario of all. If coffee disappeared, millions of people would panic.
I would be the first in line panicking. It's funny to think about, but it really underscores a profound cognitive ability.
What do you mean?
When we joke about talking cats or vanishing coffee, we aren't just reacting to our environment, we are actively generating entirely new environments in our minds and inviting others to step into those imaginary spaces with us.
Wow. But if we're building these incredible alternate realities, the illusion completely shatters if we sound like robots reading a script, doesn't it?
Oh, totally.
If you want to invite someone into your mental sandbox, the physical mechanics of how you speak these words must sound completely natural. The magic is in the delivery, specifically how we squash these words together.
This is a crucial point for anyone looking to truly master the flow of spoken English. When native speakers use this structure, they rarely, if ever, clearly pronounce the full phrase, I would. Instead, they rely heavily on contractions.
We just smash the words together.
Exactly. We merge the pronoun and the word would into a single fluid sound with a tiny flick of the tongue. So I would becomes I'd. You would becomes you'd. He would becomes he'd. She'd. We'd. They'd.
Let's hear how that changes the rhythm of a sentence for you listening. Instead of saying, I would help you, you say, I'd help you. Instead of, she would love it, it's, she'd love it.
So much smoother.
Yeah. We'd arrive early. They'd understand. It just glides right off the tongue.
This raises an important question, though. Do you find that people who are actively trying to learn and apply this grammar, perhaps our listeners who are translating from Spanish or Portuguese in real time, do they often over-enunciate when they're imagining these things?
Oh, constantly.
Okay.
And it makes total sense why. If you are listening to this right now and mentally repeating to yourself, if I lived near the beach, I would go swimming. Stop. You are over-enunciating.
This is a very common trap.
When you are focusing so hard on remembering the formula, okay, if plus past simple, then would plus base verb, your brain wants to pronounce every single piece of that formula perfectly to prove you got it right.
Yeah, you want to hit all the markers.
Exactly. But you end up sounding grammatically perfect, but so rigid. It sounds like you are reading a legal document instead of daydreaming about a beach.
And that rigidity breaks the spell of the imaginary reality you are trying to create. Contractions are what make English sound natural and fluid. They signal to the listener that you are comfortable with the language and comfortable with the fantasy.
So to you listening, my advice is to embrace that quick D sound. Let the words blend together. Sound like a natural dreamer.
I'd.
She'd, we'd, let it flow.
However, that very same natural blended speech is exactly what leads to the biggest pitfalls.
Well, here we go.
Because natural speech blends these words so tightly, people often mishear the core formula when they are listening to native speakers talk at full speed.
That is so true. You just hear that little D sound flying by and your brain gets confused about where the different parts of the formula actually belong, which logically brings us to the 3 most common traps people fall into when trying to use the Unreal Conditional.
Let's go through them because they all stem from a kind of cognitive friction. Mistake number 1 is using the word will in the if clause.
Oh, I hear this one a lot.
For example, someone might say, if I will have time, I would help.
You can almost hear the gears grinding in the brain on that one. If I'll have time. Why do people do this? Because your brain is desperately trying to express a future desire. You want to help in the future.
Right.
So your brain reaches for the future word will. But the mathematical formula of the grammar demands a past tense word. Your brain short circuits,
Right.
and you end up mixing a real future-focused word with an unreal hypothetical structure.
Correct. The friction causes a crash. The correct way to phrase it, maintaining that necessary distance from reality, is, if I had time, I would help.
Okay, mistake number 2. This is probably the one I hear the absolute most.
Yes.
It is using the word would inside the if clause itself.
Yes. For example, if I would be rich, I'd travel.
It's like a double conditional.
Yeah.
You're putting the imaginary result inside the imaginary condition.
Oh, if I be rich. No, no, no. Right. You have to establish the condition first with the past tense before you can even introduce the result. So it must be, if I were rich. Only then, once the fantasy world is built, can you say what the result is? I would travel.
And mistake number 3 is simply forgetting to step back from reality at all. It's using the present tense instead of the past simple. So someone might say, if I have more money, I would travel.
The problem here is that if I have more money is a first conditional.
Right.
It's a real conditional. It means it is a very real likely possibility for the future. But then attaching I would travel to it creates a massive grammatical mismatch. If you are talking about an unreal dream, a fantasy, you have to use the past simple. If I had more money, I would travel.
I have a really simple, memorable rule of thumb for you listening to avoid all of these traps entirely. Are you ready?
Let's hear it.
Here it is. Keep the would or the will completely out of the if part of your sentence. Just banish them from the first half.
That's good advice.
If and would are like two identical sides of a magnet pushing against each other. They do not belong in the same clause. Get the if part done with your past tense verb, take a breath, and then use your would.
That is an excellent way to remember it. Keep the condition and the result separated in your mind. Build the world first, then take action in it.
Okay, let's bring all of this together.
To recap, the Unreal Conditional, that core formula of if plus past simple, followed by would plus the base verb, is your ultimate linguistic tool.
Yes.
It is what allows you to imagine completely different lives, to give polite, empathetic advice without triggering a defensive reaction, and to talk about impossible or absurd situations. It is the grammatical structure that lets you dream, wonder, and have fun.
It's the sandbox.
Yeah.
And speaking of having fun in that sandbox, I want to leave you with a quick mental exercise. Wherever you are right now, if you're commuting, walking the dog, doing the dishes, I want you to complete these thoughts in your head using the formula we just talked about. I'll give you the condition, you provide the results. Ready?
Let's do it.
If you won the lottery, what would you do?
Ooh, good one.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live? If you met your favorite actor, what would you say? If you didn't have to work tomorrow, what would you do? If you spake perfect English, how would your life change? And lastly, if you could instantly learn any language besides English, which one would you choose?
Those are great prompts.
Take a second today and actually build those alternate realities in your mind.
And as you think about your answers to those scenarios, I want to leave you with a broader, perhaps more provocative thought that builds on everything we've explored today.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about grammar rules, but think about this. What if our linguistic ability to use this very structure, the unreal conditional, is exactly what allowed human beings to evolve past mere survival?
Oh, wow. That's deep.
Think about it. If we lacked the grammatical mechanics to imagine a reality different from our current immediate environment, how would we ever invent anything new?
We wouldn't be able to.
Right. How could we plan for an agricultural future that doesn't exist yet? How could we build complex civilizations or truly empathize with the struggles of a stranger if we couldn't linguistically put ourselves in their shoes? The grammar of the unreal isn't just a set of rules for a language test. It might just be the very engine of human progress.
We use words to build a map of a world that doesn't exist yet so that we can figure out how to get there. That takes us right back to the beginning. It's not just a grammar rule, it's a mental time machine.
Exactly.
And now you know exactly how to operate it. Keep questioning, keep exploring those alternate realities, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.